What is the most inappropriate question you've been asked at a job interview? Story 1. I went on this ridiculous interview in Boston's Back Bay one time. Some headhunter company. Take the T in, sweat in my stupid suit, find the office on stupid Newbury Street. The first thing the hiring manager tells me is that she isn't interviewing me and that I need to go to the other office in Boylston. So, okay. I got there and have a wildly generic interview with some guy. He tells me they don't know if they have a position for me, but I should go check with the other office up the street. Okay. I'm a suburban guy. I don't know anything at all about downtown, but I'm getting by finding everything. So I go there and have the exact same interview with some other freaking person. Oh, what brings you here today? I don't know. What is happening? This person tells me they don't know if there is a position and to go back to Newbury Street and talk to the original person. Fine, whatever. I don't even care anymore. So the original person decides she can interview me now. We talk about the Red Sox for a few minutes. I'm trying my butt off to not be frustrated and to just talk to her like a person, not an interviewer. You still live at your parents' house? Am I supposed to hire someone that lives in their parents' basement? She twirls her pen and tells me the point of the question was to see how I do under pressure when somebody is putting the screws to you. Yeah, I knew that. Shut up. She said she'd call me. I'd gotten off the T and back in my car when the original recruiter called me. What'd you think? Yeah, man, your company sucks sweating sausages. I'm good with it. No, thank you. Thank you. I feel really bad for the guy that ended up taking that job. The interview was literally how much BS you can take from us. They just laid their company out on the table for him. Unintentionally, but they did it. I went to a job interview once where the interviewer brought in someone I was supposed to work with, and they proceeded to have an argument right in front of me. I'm not talking about a small disagreement. They were almost shouting at each other. I had to tell the recruiter this after the interview. They didn't speak for a few seconds. Luckily, I found something else. Story 2. Name something innovative you've done at work. Woman, I work at a retail pharmacy, and I'm applying for an assistant management job with the same company. You know cheery well that we don't get the opportunity to be innovative. Edit. I get it, guys. You steal the pharmaceuticals and sell them on the streets. Also, I responded to this one, but got a lot of comments just like it. You can change policies, not unless your management suggests new software for inventory or looking up customers, implementing a rewards program, suggests making an app for customers for mobile ordering or tracking of their prescriptions. Not in a heavily corporate mandated retail job where any suggestions taken by employees are not taken seriously at all. It's a dumb question given the circumstances. In a lot of retail jobs, you're judged on your skills. Your ideas on a macro scale aren't taken into consideration, and your micro scale ideas don't matter to people above you. I like to mix the pills to see if different pills will cure other illnesses. It must be working because some of them don't come back, like replacing cancer medication with Zima. Edit. For those talking about cancer medication coming in pill form, this was a reference to an episode or 2 episodes from the show Archer, where he gets cancer, then finds out that the medicine he takes through his chest port is actually just Zima, and was replaced by some mobsters who steal the real medicine and sell it. I think it was for chemo. That is frustrating. That situation feels like there's no way for you to be able to advance. It sounds like they just want obedient workers. They'll squash your ideas every step of the way in order to keep things status quo, but then they want innovation from you when you want to move up? I hope this person found something else. Story 3. I went to some blank interview once. The company had a blind ad, and the interview took place in a conference room at a local hotel. When I got there, I discovered it was me and a room full of middle-aged men. I was a girl in my late 20s. All of us with a background in sales. Finally, we get some weird dog and pony show about the company, who still didn't give us a name, and how they sold a wide variety of products and services across multiple industries. They wanted us to come up front one at a time, give our name, our age, where we went to college, tell whether we were married, how many kids we had, and what our long-term goals were. I was the only one who asked why my age, marital status, or number of children was required. Mainly because I had a background in HR and knew they couldn't legally ask that stuff. After that portion was over, they told us they'd be calling within the next 2 hours to invite some of us back for round 2. And in round 2, we had to bring our spouses with us so they could talk to them too. They called me back back, and I didn't even bother answering the phone. I still have no idea who the hell they were. They may have asked the questions about kids and spouses to see how many people are in your household. When you go back with your spouse, they'll know that no one is home. If no kids or kids are in school, they rob your house. I suspect that this happened to my neighbor. They were at a timeshare seminar when their house was randomly broken into. This is some genius level scumbag stuff there. I was gonna say this sounded like some sort of pyramid scheme company. It didn't occur to me that this was just a setup for them to rob your house. Either way, they're taking more from you than you're willing to give. Did anyone ever report this to anything? The police? Story 4. Not so much a question, but a warning. I was told that the size of my breasts might be an issue since children would want to grab them. Teacher. Edit. Wow. My inbox. I teach all ages to children and adolescents in Japan. They not only grab my breasts, but they also grab and spank my butt. Older students tend to just comment on them. I wear t-shirts, but that doesn't hide the size. Ha! A child once did grab mine. I'm fairly well endowed and was teaching English kindergarten in Korea. Land of the flat chests. One of my students, a 5-year-old girl, came up to me and looked up at my chest, down at hers, touched mine, squeezed, then went back to her own, asking, "Teacher, why me? No?" Something similar happened to me as well. Was teaching English at a kindergarten in Japan. One day, a slightly older student, if memory serves, around 5 or 6, ran up to me as I was sitting on the floor. She patted me right on the bosom, proclaiming, "Oppai!" breasts, and ran off giggling. Story 5. Completely serious, not an exaggeration. Interviewer was asking some personal but not invasive questions in a kind of pre-interview, we haven't really gotten to the job questions kind of way. So, do you live at home? Are you in school? And whatnot. Then it takes a sharp turn. You have a girlfriend? Yes. How'd you meet? I met her through a friend who I go out to this bar with for trivia. She showed up one night and we started talking and we really hit it off. Not a really exciting story, I'm afraid. You hit it off, huh? Did you? Then makes a weird motion with his hands. Did we? I'm sorry, I don't really understand. Did you two go home together when you first met? I think you're asking me if I got physical with my significant other on our first encounter? That doesn't feel really appropriate, scoffs and says under his breath. Some people are so freaking uptight. Okay, so work questions. I completed the interview and got the job, but turned it down. I told this story to my brother and he said it wasn't strange. This is a completely bizarre experience, right? Like, I understood the concept of two dudes shooting the breeze and talking about their personal life, but to a stranger you're interviewing to work for you? Definitely weird. Story 6. I interviewed for a semiconductor company in Silicon Valley in a 3-tier interview process. The interview was about an hour long, and each manager took turns asking me questions about my experience and skills. After the second manager was done, he informed me that the last interviewing manager was running late because he had a flat tire, and to please be patient. Waited about 25 minutes before he finally showed up and walked into the room, closing the door behind him. It was an older guy with dirt and sweat on his face and visibly frustrated from having to change his tire out. He sat down and stared across the table from me and said, "They probably ask you every technical question I would ask of you anyway." He paused and said, "Do you want the freaking job or what?" I was really taken back by the raw emotion this man was expressing to me. I replied with the same brute force. "Hell yeah," I told him. Just kidding. Actually, I said, "Yes, I really do," in a timid voice. He said, "Hell with it. The job is yours. Let me go get the paperwork started." I ended up working there for 5 years. He was quite the manager to work for, as you guys can imagine. And this is exactly why I slash all of my interviewers' tires the night before I go in. So it was you. My office. Now. Maybe the language was inappropriate, but I don't know if the question was entirely appropriate. I think it was kind of funny to see this guy's dedication to the job that he was so covered in muck trying to change a tire on his way in. At least they let him know he was running late and it wasn't some kind of ruse. I think this final boss interviewer was just embarrassed from what he had to go through. I'm glad it led to a lucrative job. Story 7. Not a question, but what I answered. I was doing this interview for a company I already wasn't sure I wanted to work for, and the interviewer was just rubbing me the wrong way. The questions were ridiculous for what was a simple warehouse job. But finally, He had a question I could play with. If you could be a bird, what kind of bird would you be, and why? Now, I knew the answer he was looking for was something stupid like penguin, because they work together to survive the toughest conditions. So of course I replied with, I'd want to be a falcon. You know, flying around above the other birds, striking them when they least expect it. There's a poor little pigeon below me looking around for some food to feed her chicks when I dive down from above and snap her spine in an explosion of feathers, then take her carcass home to feed on. Sometimes I'd go hunting and off the other birds just for fun, the way cats do. I was standing up and making rapid aggressive motions with my hands, simulating the way falcons hunt. I did not get the job. Story 8. We're not hiring right now. Why and how did you get into my office? I was in the wrong building. I didn't get the job. I'm a security expert. I just wanted to prove that your office is lacking in critical security infrastructure. Any corporate spy could have waltzed right in here, accessed your private data, and sabotaged your network. Hire me at $90,000 per year, and I will ensure what I just did will never happen again. No, you have to say something that leaves you with an out, like, I was drastically improving your security procedures so that a corporate spy walking into your office would be harder than flying to the moon. That way, when someone does, you can just say, hey, I didn't say it would never happen again. Story 9. If I have a boyfriend. Edit. What the hell? So much attention. I was 16 at the time. This was an interview for a job creation measure. Because I didn't do anything to get an apprenticeship after school, my job center sent me there, and these people try to get young people an internship at companies so that they may get an apprenticeship there. They had a huge catalog of questions. Most of them I already answered on my CV, but they still had to go through them again. And I just found these questions to be really stupid and inappropriate. Maybe they fear I won't come to work and hide at my boyfriend's house or something. I don't really know. Edit 2. No boyfriend at the time, and sadly, it was not a comfy casting couch. Instead, it was an uncomfy chair without a cushion on it. Asking if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend just is not needed these days. That just seems really creepy to ask now. It just goes to show that corporations don't believe in work-life balance. Do you think they skew things towards people who are single because they know they can guilt them into working overtime because they have no other social attachments? Story 10. What is your current salary? But seriously, I hate this question. My current salary shouldn't be relevant to the discussion of what I'm potentially worth to you as my prospective employer. It just reeks of trying to find the cheapest hire possible, and that's a red flag. Not enough to keep me where I am. Next question. That's a solid response. I'm going to remember that for future use. The last time I was asked this question, I went with a polite, I'm not comfortable sharing that information, and the HR person's face immediately got red and they got defensive. Well, I'm the person you need to talk to about that. Story 11. I was told once that I looked about birthing age and asked when I was going to start having children. I just got up, said, thank you for your time, and walked out. Highly illegal question in the United States. I love your response. Edit. It wasn't so offensive as it is illegal in my province to ask about family, sexual orientation, religion, etc. for purposes of discrimination, and made me not suddenly want to work with someone who would ask that in a professional setting. I would have walked out if he asked if I was married or what church I went to. If you break a well-known law in the interview, what type of employer would you be? Story 12. Interview for a web dev job. How do you make cheese? I gave it a good answer because I know how cheese is made, but still, well, first I'd Google, you're hired! As a web developer at a large firm, that's exactly the answer they're looking for. The field changes a lot. New techniques, trends and technologies, and new problems from those techniques, trends, and technologies. You want someone who is willing to learn and research, because that's 90% of the job. If the company is serious about innovation, which any good web company is, you won't be getting the same results over and over. You'll be asked to branch out and push boundaries, reach uncharted territory. I don't know how to do that, and I can't do that, aren't acceptable answers, and developers who throw that around are seen as dead weight. I'm not sure, but I'd be happy to research that and get back with you, is what they want. Okay, so this person just spent his time proving that this wasn't an inappropriate question. I can see the strategy behind it. I can see what they're looking for in someone that they want to hire. I get the logic. Did they think it was inappropriate because it mentioned cheese? I think a more inappropriate question would be, how could you make a dollar bill that could pass by anybody just looking at it? That's a red flag right there. Story 13. I was asked by one gentleman if I liked to party. I was then informed by the interviewer that he liked to regularly snort sea substance. He then followed that up with, "If you're hired, you should come hang out with us. A bunch of the guys in management like to hit up some random strip club in town during lunch and get plastered. Hey, life tip, marry an adult entertainer. They stay hot as hell for a long time. Most are bisexual, and they'll bring home their coworkers for you to do. The only awful part is the warts. Just get 'em burned off." I was expecting Ashton Kutcher to burst through a door at any moment and say I was punked. Never happened. I was hired. He wasn't trolling. He was dead serious about everything he told me. I've been wondering lately how "do you party" became the international phrase for "do you do sea substance." Story 14. I was being interviewed for a job at a small law firm. I was being interviewed by the office manager, and the associate attorney was sitting in. After all the skill questions, the office manager goes, "So are you married? Do you have kids? We're very family-oriented." The attorney jumped in. "You can't ask those types of questions." After a few more get-to-know-you questions, she said, "So are you a Christian?" Attorney jumped in again. "Jesus dunking crackers, you can't ask that either." I did get the job. It was a fun place to work at. Edit. Wow, this blew up. This is the kind of thing the associate attorney would leave on my desk. I like how "Jesus dunking crackers" is an appropriate exclamation. What was the job? New office manager? Story 15. Barbecue place in my town used to ask what religion you are on the application. They're a very Christian organization. I applied for them when I was 19. For the religion question, just answered, "That is not an appropriate question to ask a job applicant." Never got a call back, but I remember having a few other friends who mentioned that they too applied and noticed the religion question. However, I have since heard they removed that part of the application. They're a very Christian organization. The fact that you can even say this offhandedly about a barbecue restaurant leads me to believe that America is even weirder than I thought. Probably because it's illegal. Edit. It's illegal because it's discrimination. It doesn't matter if it's a church, Chick-fil-A, or Tony's Pizza. It's illegal in the U.S. unless they have 15 employees. I remember that less than 15 employees exemption from an episode of King of the Hill, of all places. One employee was really going overboard with having everybody kowtow to him because he claimed he had special needs. Hank couldn't take it anymore and he quit, and that brought the employees down to under 15 employees so the boss could do whatever he wanted. Poor Hank had to go back to a starting salary when he got hired back, even after he saved the company. His boss was a jerk. Story 16. Well, I guess it was more my answer that was inappropriate, but I was asked, "What is your best skill or talent?" And I answered, "My cleavage," and made the holding chest gesture. I got the job. Was a cocktail bartending job. The guys interviewing me were typical assistant managers, under 25, and giggled like little shrews. Putty in my hands. Edit. Apparently, I have ruined the work of suffragettes and am a party girl. It made people laugh. True story, but I genuinely got the job because I was a good bartender. Calm down. As a chubby dude, when I tried that, all I got were stares. Damn unfair society. Sup? Story 17. I was applying for a job at a well-known Middle East news agency. I'm a journalist with 10 years experience in the field. Lived 2 years in the West Bank. Have reported from Nairobi, Mogadishu, etc. Interview with a guy in London. After a phone interview and a written exam. Question. So when did you become radicalized? Ever since I discovered BMX. About 2 seconds ago when you asked that question. Story 18. The guy asked in a somewhat mumbly, muffled voice, "You aren't gay or Muslim or anything, are you?" To which I replied, "I'm not sure. How would you define anything?" This ended it for us both. Afterwards, I discovered through an employee that pre-work prayer was mandatory. That business has since dissolved. Scream, "You blew my cover! Allahu Akbar! Now you're going to blow me!" Whip your anatomy out and start chasing him around the table. Edit. Thanks gold and 30+ notifications in my inbox. What do you think? Do you think an inappropriate question deserves an inappropriate answer? I guess if you know you're probably not going to get the job, you might as well have fun with it. I mean, if this interviewer reports this guy, what is he gonna do? This other guy can come back with the question that he asked, and then they both be in trouble. Story 19. Interviewer said I looked very youthful, then asked how I expected to keep a class in line if I looked almost as young as the students. He, word for word, asked, "What if they rebel?" This was for a biochemistry teaching position at a college. What would you do if they rebel? I would unionize them. Wait, on ionize or unionize? Edit. Wow, thanks for the gold. Story 20. Girl I was dating was asked by her creepy manager what her cup size was. She had quite a large rack, greater than a G cup, and it was not for a Hooters Twin Peaks restaurant, so she rightfully stood up, walked out, and called the district manager for his store. Edit. Greater than G. Edit 2. Stop PMing me for pics. I do not care about your science experiments. Story 21. Her. Are you married? Me. Yes, have been for X years. Her. Do you like it? Me. Yeah. It's all right, I guess. Her. Quiet stare. Was the interviewer actually just your significant other wearing a fake mustache? Wearing a fake mustache and acting as a female? Interesting ploy, significant other. Interesting ploy. This one just sounds like it's out of a Naked Gun movie. Being asked if you're married or not should just be straight up illegal. It just leads to too much discrimination and all this prying into your personal life. Back off. You don't need to know if I'm married or not. Story 22. The staff had to wear company polos every shift, and in the interview, I was asked what size shirt I'd wear. I was told by the interviewer that they wanted to make sure the new employee would fit into the previous employee's polo shirts so they wouldn't have to buy 3 new polos. Would not want to work there if that was their attitude. Time off? Nope. Pay rise? Nope. Safety gear when necessary? Nope. If they're not willing to equip you for the job properly in the interview, you can put your money on them not looking after you when you've joined. Story 23. Which church ward I attended? Rural Utah. They can't outright ask you if you're Mormon, so they ask what ward you're from, since that's technically asking you a question about geography. Your answer and where you take the conversation next reveals all they need to know about your religious status, which is what they really care about. This is such common knowledge in Utah that I'm surprised nobody has mentioned this already. Story 24. Why I didn't grow my own vegetables. Seriously. To add context, it was a web administrator's. She also asked me thrice what my blood group was. I don't even know. I didn't get the job, thankfully. Everyone knows A negatives grow cabbages at their compost yards. Oh, plus here, carrots as far as the eye can see. What in the world does blood type and gardening habits have to do with a web admin job? Was it for a produce company? Was it for one of those we send you the ingredients so you can cook it yourself companies? And even if it was, why does it matter that you have to grow your own vegetables? Unless it was part of some creative thinking question, that just is weird. Story 25. I sat in an interview with my boss, who is always inappropriate. We were interviewing someone from India, and this genius asked if he knew this other person who happens to be Indian also. Yeah, dude, over 1 billion people from India, and they all know each other. Edit. A lot of people asked if they knew each other, and the answer is no. Thanks for the gold. Was it Ranjit? Everyone knows that mother-friender. You know Ranjit? That motor-boating son of a shrew? Story 26. Years ago, my wife was at a start-of-year back-to-school night at the school where she taught 6th grade, and at the time, she was about 5 months pregnant. In reference to my wife, one of the other mothers angrily told the principal, "She shouldn't be allowed to work here if she's pregnant. She's just going to go on maternity leave anyway." To his credit, the principal replied, "Are you suggesting that our teachers should not be allowed to have children?" And the idiot backed down. Story 27. I was asked if I ever watch Korn, which didn't seem like such a big deal to me at first. Trying to be honest, I answered yes. I was then asked, "What kind of stuff? I need specifics." For context, I'm a male, and the interviewer was female, and this was for a government job. Well, you know the really weird stuff? Yeah, weirder stuff. Edit. Fantastic. My top scoring comment is now about weird Korn stuff. The job interviews stuff mostly, you know what I mean? Government is asking about your personal viewing habits? Again, we're talking about discrimination. Why would they need to know this? What government job was this for? The Ministry of Propaganda? Story 28. I had a candidate I was interviewing ask me whether I smoked magic lettuce. He was telling the interview panel that he did, and that this showed he would fit in well with the office social scene. This was for a job at a government department in London, and it was really not that kind of place. Exactly. He should have known you all do powdered C instead. What an amateur. By powdered C, do you mean small children? Story 29. I was once asked if I would be willing to change my name because the owner of the company had the same name, and we absolutely have to know who it is when she calls. I suggested a nickname and was told I couldn't use that either. The department head had that name. Noped my way out of there. T-Bone? No, Coco. Story 30. My significant other asked if he had given or received spicy butt activity in the past 12 months. It was an interview for work insurance. I actually don't think that is too outlandish. I have a friend, and he knows all the others in town. They're all good friends and hang out together. If I ever meet a he probably knows them. I think you're in the wrong comment thread. Again, this is prying into your personal activity. No wonder people are really raging for a work-life balance. Work is work. Personal is personal. Why do all these corporations not seem to get this straight? Story 31. If I plan to get pregnant soon, illegal. I study economics. This is a huge reason why employers don't want to hire women in that age range. While highly illegal, it's almost impossible to make a case against an employer. That's why I always start my cover letter by disclosing my infertility. Story 32. Another one from the big boss. While he was interviewing this lady who happened to be a little overweight, not much, but a little, he said, we offer free gym membership. It seems like you can use it. I was like, what the hell? Man, Naked Snake is a jerkwad. Story 33. They asked me to name my favorite Muppet, and I was totally not prepared for it. No Beaker answers yet? You're all distasteful jerkwads if you don't think Beaker is the best. Edit. Meep for the gold, mate. Bunsen freaking Honeydew. Well, if we're talking about the Muppets, I'm pretty sure Bunsen Honeydew would be up there. But if we're talking about Sesame Street Muppets as well,
then I have to go with the Cookie Monster. Oh, gimme Cookie.
Of course, you can always talk about Oscar as well. Now scram!
Story 34. Are you ovulating right now? Edit. Oh wait, most inappropriate questions have been asked. No, but I'm getting a vasectomy tomorrow if that counts. I'll allow it. Story 35. Would you like to increase your chances at this job by having dinner with me? Would you like to increase your chances of having dinner with me by hiring me? You're hired. Story 36. He interrupted a series of normal questions with, would you like to go out on a date after this? You already have the job. I got the job and a free meal. He was fired for sexual harassment a month later. Wow. Just getting the best possible outcome out of that situation. I'm glad it was just a meal and he didn't try to pry for anything else. Or maybe he did, I don't know. And you got rid of someone who was contributing to a toxic environment. Not bad for a month's work. Story 37. Not me, but a friend wanted to know whether she was a dot or feather. I am not kidding. I always liked, are you Casino or Slurpee? Thank you. Come again.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.